Well, we're about to have our first big snowstorm of the year, if you can call like 4 to 9 inches a big storm. And for some of you who have really had a lot of snow, this is nothing, of course. But what I wanted to do today is to get out and I wanted to start talking to you a little bit about why we want to layer our flower beds, tall, middle, and smaller in the front. Now, there are lots of see-through plants that we can use, that we can put in the front of the border that are tall, like Verbena Bonariensis or Gara, that you can see right through. But what are some good things to put in the middle of the border? So let's take a look at some of my beds and see what I'm talking about. Okay, so right here we have some spireas, and behind them we have some oak leaf hydrangeas. Behind those we have some tall evergreens. So this is what I mean when I'm talking about, let's figure out what's going in the middle of the border. Is it a grass? And then down below we have something smaller, whether it's tulips or a sedum. Here I have a sedum, again with the oak leaf hydrangea behind it, with the tall blue spruce behind that. Like I said, while I can actually get out in the yard and it's not completely frozen and walking in snow. So again, here's an example. Along this entire back, I have some tall helianthus, herbstone, rudbeckia, carene. I have a few different ones, and then I've got a helenium out over here. In the middle, I have some Russian sage right here. I have an ilex that's kind of a middle height. So I've got that middle stuff in the border. And then down below here, I have drops of Jupiter. So again, what are we thinking for the middle of our borders? Over here, now, middle of the border doesn't have to mean up against a backdrop. It can be what's your taller stuff might be in the middle, and then the lower, your other layers are in front of it. So in this bed, I have some tall grasses in the middle, and then I have some phlox, and then I have some coneflowers. Let's see what else we have. Okay, here's another example, okay? So from the other side of this bed, I have this juniper that's looking like it could use some help. From the other side of the bed, the juniper is the back, okay? And then I have smaller things in front of it like foxgloves and Russian sage. If I come over to this side of it though, I have, in the middle, I have hydrangeas, and then down below I have coneflowers and a small sprinter boxwood. So in the middle doesn't always mean you have to have something super tall in the back. So we'll go through all of this, but you might get some height just from having some kind of support with the clematis growing on it in the middle of the border to create some differentiation and a step down from maybe low. Here I have some pachysandra. In the summertime, I have some daylilies that'll be up here, but then the clematis provides some height here, as well as the grasses obviously here. Now I know you can't see this very well, but I have some taller 9 barks across the back, and I have a big French pussy willow. The medium layer is some Macrophylla hydrangeas, and then the lower layers are Heuchera, Astilbe, let's see what else is in here, Lady's Mantle. So I've got a variety, and then a daylily, and then across the front I have some epimedium that is a little bit lower. A layered garden relies on a careful selection of plants that provide a succession of interesting layers spring through the fall. So remember that plants grow and change throughout the seasons and yearly. By providing different textures, shapes, and colors, you can evoke different emotions. And don't forget the views from the house. This is a view of David Culp's garden. He's in Pennsylvania. And I borrowed this photo from his Layered Garden book, which is a great resource. I would say first and foremost, you always want to start with any garden structures first. You're going to layer plants in a staggered manner. Foreground, middle ground, background creates a nice casual mixed border. Considering the repetition, scale, and depth that you're using, and plan for a variety of plants. If you use annuals to add some height in the middle of the border, then you have the opportunity to change that layout all year long. So let's look at some annual options. Try to select plants that have similar water, light, soil, and drainage needs, and consider grouping your plants in groups of 3 to 5 for some impact. Here you're looking at Angelonia, which comes in a variety of colors, blooms all season, full sun, heat and drought tolerant plant, very low maintenance, gets about 30 inches high, 18 inches wide. Really pretty. It's kind of called a summer snapdragon. My absolute favorite annual is Salvia Plain the Blues from Proven Winners. You might want to think about planting for plants with long-lasting flowers and sturdy stems so they can support others and involve less intervention from you over the season. I usually do this with a supertunia right in my front yard. It looks great. This is not my yard. I don't know why I can't find my pictures of this and stuff. But the great thing about Plain the Blue Salvia is the blue flowers stay all summer long, and then as the flowers age, the calyx remains that deep blue after the actual flower falls off, so it actually looks like the entire flower stalk just keeps growing flowers. So it really has a really nice presence. It gets like 4 feet tall, 3 feet wide. I usually have a bunch of 5 of them, like I said, with a bunch of supertunias. Love it. As I mentioned earlier, another great one that I love, and it spreads all over, I will say, is Verbena Bonariensis. It's really easy to pull out, though, if you don't want it in a certain area. But again, this is a great see-through plant. It can be in the front of the border, it could be in the middle of the border, it can be anywhere because you can see through it. It just, stands nice and tall, has that pretty purple foliage all season. It keeps reblooming. If you deadhead it, it'll keep sending up shoots. Which is really nice. The contrasting foliage with other plants is great all season long, and next year you'll have even more. There are so many options for annuals. This is a Marguerite Daisy and a Supertunia. Think about things that are going to attract your butterflies, your hummingbirds, your bees all season long in a variety of colors and textures, varying including, shrubs and perennials. So there are a lot of different options. Now, another thing that you can do also is you can have a layered container. So I have a Marguerite Daisy in with a gladiola and some other plants. So it doesn't have to, if you don't have a regular garden, you can just have a container garden and it's the same effect. Now, just remember the Arganthemum butterflies. These plants actually can get 3 feet tall, so be careful where you plant them, but make sure it's a sunny spot. New to the market in the last couple of years is this Gomphrina Truffula Pink, and boy, has it been super popular. The rabbits unfortunately ate mine last year, but this can get to be 28 inches tall, loves full sun. It's a perfect plant to put right behind your short plants, like you can see here behind the Macrodonia. So it's got those rich pink purple flowers. Here you have the lantana between the Gomphrina and the Macrodonia, but you'll have it plants all summer long. Bees and butterflies love it. It's a great landscape plant and makes a great cut flower, so you got it all. Gomphrina. Another great option for the middle of the border is annual ornamental grasses. Here I have Skyrocket, which I had in a container with some calla lilies, but you might do the rubrum grass, which brings that nice red. This is a really way to introduce some height, some movement to the garden, and really is just a wonderful element wherever it's used, whether it's, the dark foliage, the variegated foliage. It just adds a lot of dimension. So, I mean, I'm not going to try to go into the details of every single one of these plants. I just want to give you some ideas. I think you can't go wrong with any of the Coleus. They come in a lot of different sizes and colors, like so many different colors. They could be 20 inches tall, which is great right behind your short plants, or the really tall ones are like 30 to 40 inches tall, all kinds of color. They love full sun, but a lot of them now can take a lot of shade too. But they're perfect for getting that foliage color in the middle of the border. Other annuals you might try are Caladiums, cannas. You can get the same layered effect, whether you're putting it in a border or you're putting it in a container. I used Prince Tut and Caladiums last year in a container. I tried Gladiolas in a container with some Coleus and some Supertunia latte. So there are a lot of different annuals that you can use to get that layered look. So let's now talk about perennials and shrubs. I say try planting a variety of perennials, annuals like zinnias, cosmos, snapdragons, and these can all work in the middle of a border. Also, carefully select your varieties based on the height so you can use them for cut flowers also. But remember, shrubs might be a great option. If deer or rabbits are an issue for you, research options before selecting a plant, even if you love it. If it's deer candy, you'll be sorry you selected it, like yews and roses and arborvitae and euonymus. Deer dislike plants with a bitter taste, a strong fragrance, fuzzy leaves, and of course toxic plants like monkshood. Consider instead other varieties like agastache, nepeta, irises, peonies, lavender, bluebeard, shrubs, spirea, bleeding hearts, astilbe, brunnera, and hellebores. So here we're looking at alliums and nepeta. I think bulbs are really one of the keys to creating a great layered look, and they don't take up a lot of space. However, don't forget things like Allium Globemaster that you're looking at here have pretty big strappy leaves, so be careful what you plant them with. I have them with nepeta. Now I have way number of other alliums all over the garden. This is the drumstick allium with some asters and coneflowers around it and helenium. So there are a lot of options, but they don't take up a lot of space. So they're great for the middle of the border. When planting your beds, I suggest you consider contrasting foliage. Here you can see Spirea ogam behind this Ito peony. And that really provides a lot of interest. So the peony can be in the middle of a bed. It could be in the front. I happen to have it in the front of my bed, and I have roses behind it. So this particular one is called Canary Brilliance. It's zone 4 through 9, loves full sun, gets like 3 feet tall, and blooms late spring. So peonies are a great option for the front or the middle. Another great option are Siberian Iris. They're zone 3 through 8. They love full sun. They're like 3 to 4 feet tall, so they can be in the middle. There's some shorter varieties that can be in the front. You could use poppies. You could use lilies. These are all great options for the middle of the border because they all get to be a nice size. The poppies are really see-through, but any of these would work. Another great perennial I add more of every year are the Baptisas. I have quite a few different varieties. They're basically zone 4 through 8, and they take full sun to part shade. They don't love a lot of water. They have a very deep taproot, so figure out where you want to plant them because you're not going to be moving them. They attract butterflies. They're very showy. They're great for the middle of the border, but some of them are tall enough that they can go in the back. They can be 3 to 5 feet easily. Another plant that I use in the middle of the border with heuchera in front of it and some geums in front of it also is Penstemum. I have a couple of different varieties. I have Husker Red and Dark Towers. They get like 3 feet tall, the bloom stalk, not the leaf. And they're like zone 3 through 8. They love full sun. They don't need a lot of water. They don't need a lot of anything, but they attract hummingbirds and butterflies with that little cone on the flower. And they tolerate deer really well. Now, I have done full videos on daylilies. They're one of my favorites. They look great in the middle of a border. They come in every color under the sun, and they're absolutely no maintenance. Cut them down at the end of the season, and that's it. Can't say enough about them. Hyssop, anise hyssop, or agastache, as we call it here in the East, comes in, again, a lot of different varieties. There are always new ones being put out by different companies. They're like 3 feet tall. They get like 3 feet wide. They attract bees and hummingbirds all season long. They're basically zones 5 through 9. I love them. I have them in a ton of beds. A great option for the middle of the border. Here you can see in this bed I have agastache, I have yarrow, I have grasses, ruby ribbons, I have dahlias, I have liatris, I have spirea. So I have a little bit of everything in that layered border look with some shorter nepeta for my lower layers, and I have some new veronica in there. Another great perennial that's great in the front of the border, not necessarily in the middle, but it sort of climbs all over, are the hardy geraniums. This is Boom Chocolata, zone 4 through 8, but Geranium Roseanne is a great one. I also have Geranium Espresso. There are quite a few different ones, and they come in a lot of different colors. Another great option for the middle to the front of the border. So here's spireas. Again, I just did a video on spireas, so I won't get into it too much, but they're great in the front of the border, they're great in the back of the border, they're great in the middle of the border. There are 1,000 different varieties. Again, new introductions coming all the time in all kinds of different colors and different color foliage and different color flowers. A great option for a shrub for the middle of the border. And one of the last things I want to just mention quickly is dahlias. A lot of them grow at least 3 to 4 feet tall, some much taller. Of course, there are smaller varieties, but this is also a great flower that you can change up your color scheme every single year. You can save them from year to year, and you can pop them in wherever you have a blank space, and you can put them in containers too. So dahlias are great. I did a video on all the ones I ordered for 2023. And finally, I really want to stress, think about the different textures, different leaf structures, different colors. Here you have a Kusa dogwood in the fall with Amsonia in front of it, and Baptisia in front of that for all kinds of color. So before I go in, it's definitely time to start cutting things down and cutting things back. I was going to do that, and now it's going to snow. We had ice 2 days ago. We had a little snow right before that. Best laid plans. I was going to start getting my hydrangea paniculatas. Here's one right here. Was going to start getting those things cut, but Mother Nature has different plans. It's actually worked out really well this year to keep the grasses up because they, for the most part, they look pretty good. But it's time to take these things down, for sure. It's time to take all this stuff down. If I can just get a day, and then I'll show you what we're going to do. We're going to take down the salix. We're going to cut some hydrangea paniculatas. We're going to trim the rose bushes. If this is your first time on my channel, thank you for watching. I garden in Zone 6 in Northwest Connecticut, if I haven't said it before, and I really appreciate your support. Please subscribe, hit that like button. It really does make a difference, and I'll see you in the next video.